Today's episode of Chicago Bears Now is presented by Roan. Guys, you want to upgrade your wardrobe with Roan? Trust me on that one. Go to roan.com/chatsports. That code chatsports is going to get you 20% off plus free shipping at checkout. All right, coming up on today's show, 3 surprises from ESPN's initial 53-man roster for the Chicago Bears. Courtney Cronin took a early training camp stab at the Bears 53, and a couple of things stood out to me, so we'll kind of react to who she had making the team, and I'll kind of spend some more time on a couple of those surprises that stood out. No surprises at quarterback. I think this is the way they're going to go. I think, obviously, Caleb Williams is the starter. Tyson Bagent's the backup. Maybe there's a scenario where they feel the need or want to keep veteran Brett Rippon, but I think he's a prime practice squad candidate for this team to keep him, obviously, in the locker room and stuff like that. But I think he gets cut and Austin Reed gets cut. Cronin agreed with me on that one. Nothing really more to dive into there. Some teams keep 3, some keep 2. I think the Bears are going to be a team that keeps 2 quarterbacks here in 2024. All right, you go to the running back position plus Khari Blasingame at fullback, who Cronin did note that Shane Waldron didn't deploy a fullback with Seattle last year, but she has him making the team for now. So something to keep an eye on right there. 4 running backs, DeAndre Swift, Khalil Herbert, Roschon Johnson, and Travis Homer. I think a couple of, obviously, thoughts, takeaways. We'll get to Herbert in a second, but Travis Homer, is he a lock to make this team? I don't know. If Herbert makes it, I think that could put Homer's spot in jeopardy. Obviously, he's a good special teams player. But Khalil Herbert is the guy to focus on here because we've talked about it. Good player, good running back. As a number 2 back, he's very valuable. But he's been linked as a potential trade or cut candidate. He's in the final year of his rookie deal. How does the Bears feel about Roschon Johnson and what they want his role to be this year? I'm cool with Herbert being here. They just got to figure that out, and I think training camp is going to be the time to let that play out and to see if Roschon has closed that gap. If not, then I think Khalil Herbert's going to be on this team, and it sounds like he's been off to a good training camp as well. He's been a good player. You look at his first 3 years, 2022, led the NFL in yards per carry among qualified running backs. Came in as a rookie as a 6th rounder, provided a good punch in 21. Last year, had the chance to kind of take the reins as a starter. Mixed results, suffered a high ankle sprain. So he's kind of back in that number 2 role for now, which is where I think he is best. I think long-term in the NFL, he's a number 2 back on a good running attack, which I think the Bears can be. As of now, I think he stays. I do think he's a better pure runner than Roschon. But if Roschon can close that gap in the preseason and continue to provide better pass blocking and pass catching ability, then the conversation could shift. But I think for now, Khalil Herbert will be on this roster. What do you guys think, though? Will Khalil Herbert be on this team come week 1? Type Y for yes, type in for no. I will say yes. I don't think it's a given, but if he's going to keep showing out, it's going to be hard to move on from him. Let's go to the wide receiver position now. 6 guys, which I think that is the number, but this is where we do get to our first surprise. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Odunze, Tyler Scott. I think those 4 are pretty much all locks. Scott off to a good start at training camp, by the way. Velus Jones Jr., she has making it, which means he'll be your kick returner and gadget guy on offense. And then Dante Pettis getting that number 6 spot over a DeAndre Carter. Colin Johnson gets cut in Cronin's roster projection as well. But I would say this is surprise number 1. Dante Pettis making the 53-man roster, who the other day he made a couple of nice plays from Tyson Bagent on downfield throws. And if he can provide some punch at receiver, we know he's a capable returner. Maybe he makes the team and serves as the team's punt returner as well. Today's show is sponsored by Roan. I mentioned it off the top. I'll mention it again. If you're looking to upgrade your wardrobe, do it with Roan. Rocking one of the golf polos today. Very comfortable, and their commuter collection is awesome. They've kind of reinvented the male's closet for you, and plenty of clothing companies, they're going to have you looking good, but are you also comfortable while looking good? Not many companies can say that, and that is where Roan has kind of found that balance with their commuter collection, which includes dress-up shirts, long slacks, casual wear. They got you fitted for every single occasion, whether you're going to the golf course, attending a wedding or a funeral, business professional meeting, whatever you need, they're going to have you covered. And we got a deal for you. Use code ChatSports at roan.com/chatsports to get 20% off. Go check them out. Other benefits of Roan, machine washable. Don't have to go to the dry cleaners anymore. So not only are you going to save 20% up front, you're going to save money in the long run as well. Wrinkle-free technology. It is awesome, the clothes they have put together here. Link is in the comments and in the description. Go check out Roan today, RHONE.com/chatsports. All right, let's go to the tight end position. Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett, Marcedes Lewis. This is about as easy as it gets. The only way this changes, in my opinion, is if Shane Waldron opts to carry a fourth tight end and cut Khari Blasingame, where he has a fourth tight end that can also serve as the fullback, and then he goes that route because he likes to deploy tight ends. But who's that guy going to be? Like Tommy Sweeney? Like I just don't think the Bears have a solid option after these three. I don't think they need a fourth tight end, so this is about the easiest. Like, you could already pencil this in if you're Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus, barring an injury. Okay, offensive line. I think there's going to be a lot of competition and debate here, not only among the starters, obviously center competition with Ryan Bates and Coleman Shelton, but also among the backups. Kiran Amegadjie, who is still on the NFI list, I think he's a wild card, the rookie out of Yale, because he's obviously going to make this team, but if he starts on PUP, then he's not going to count against your initial 53-man roster. So could that open the door for a Larry Borom, who Courtney Cronin has getting cut here? This is kind of that second surprise-ish. I'm not going to call it a full-blown surprise. We've talked about Borom being a cut or a trade candidate. You look at a team like the Saints, who lost Ryan Ramczyk for the year. They could maybe throw a late-round pick for him later in the preseason as well. So saving that $3.1 million to move on from Borom wouldn't be a huge surprise. But if Amegadjie isn't healthy, certainly could be a surprise. And he was getting reps at the ones at left tackle the first couple of days of training camp when Braxton Jones was easing back in from a minor thing he suffered during his pre-training camp training. So, I think this could go either way. The money factor is definitely real with Borom, but it certainly would be at least a mild surprise if the Bears moved on. Subscribe and join us for more Bears training camp updates, other big storylines, news, rumors, everything else surrounding the Chicago Bears. All you got to do is hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. That way you lock us in. When you get a notification that lets you know that we have published a video or that we have gone live, that's why you hit that noti bell. Appreciate all the love, the support y'all have shown us, and we're going to keep it rolling here on Chicago Bears now. All right, let's go to the defensive side of the ball here. 8 guys for Cronin. Some mild stuff in here. No surprises on the left side of your screen. Those are your projected starters right now. Austin Booker, Zach Pickens, Jake Martin early on here at camp has been drawing some good reviews. Might do a video on him soon. Dominique Robinson making the cut here. I think he's firmly on the bubble. I still will say that I think the Bears need another pass rusher, but if they don't like the market, they might just enter the season with what they got and revisit that at the trade deadline. Montez Sweat, they feel very good about him, obviously. He's had a strong camp. If Martin, who Eric Washington called a 3-down player, if he can be that and just be serviceable, then they might just roll that to the trade deadline, and if they need to add somebody then, they might do that like they did with Sweat last year. Now, a minor note here is only 3 defensive tackles. Andrew Billings, Javon Dexter, Zach Pickens. So maybe that's a position instead of edge that they look to add there. Now, you got the UDFA, Keith Randolph Jr., who could push for a roster spot, Byron Coar, Michael Dwumfor, a couple of other guys who could be in the mix as well. But you're pretty thin at defensive tackle. So I could see the Bears, whether a team cuts somebody or if there's a free agent out there they still like, I think that pool is pretty weak at this point in time. But they could go in that direction to add a guy in the interior. Okay, linebacker, 5 guys. This is like the defensive tight end position where it's pretty straightforward. You've got your top 3 of Tremaine Edmunds, TJ Edwards, Jack Sanborn. Pretty cut and dry. Edmunds and Edwards are your primary starters in nickel formation. Sanborn's your number 3. Noah Sewell, a lot of special teams. He's been a little nicked up early in camp, but he's not going anywhere. And then Amon O, one of your top special teamer as well. No shocker here. The only thing that potentially could happen is maybe Micah Baskerville pushes for a roster spot as the number 6 linebacker, but beyond that, I don't really see a scenario where it looks different than this. Now, coming up in a second, we'll get to our third surprise from Courtney Cronin's ESPN 53-man roster projection. But first, I do want to ask you guys this question. Name a free agent the Bears should sign. It's more of a, not really a question, but get you guys involved. Who should they go out and get? I still think adding a defensive lineman makes sense. I don't think they're going to add an interior offensive lineman. I think they're going to roll with what they got there. So who is it? Who do you want? Go ahead and let me know. Okay, corner. I would say you could argue this is the biggest surprise. 7 corners. Jalen Johnson, Tyreek Stevenson, your 2 outside starters. Kyler Gordon, your starting nickel. Terrell Smith, top backup. Jalen Jones, Josh Blackwell, other good backups / special teamers. Greg Stroman Jr., who I like and I thought played well last year when Gordon was injured. Remember that game against Washington? I think he had an interception. He played pretty well in that game. But 7 corners, that's a lot. And I like Greg Stroman Jr., but that's a high number there. Like, I get corners are guys that play special teams a lot, but if Greg Stroman makes it, I almost wonder if that means Josh Blackwell doesn't or Jalen Jones doesn't, because do you need 7 corners? I don't know that you do. So definitely a position group I'm going to monitor, because I do agree with Cronin in this. Like, Stroman's worthy of being on an NFL roster. This is just a jam-packed position for the Bears, so maybe he's someone who is an unfortunate cut and gets picked up by someone else. Safety, 5 here, and that's another thing. You're going to go 12 defensive backs. Like, I know it's a passing league now, but some teams only go like 10, so that's pretty heavy here. But Jaquan Brisker, Kevin Byard, your 2 starters. Jonathan Owens, your number 3 guy who you signed in free agency. Elijah Hicks, who played a decent amount last year with Eddie Jackson hurt. Not a great safety, but a good special teamer. And then Quindell Johnson, a good specialist as well. Tarvarius Moore, somewhat of a notable cut there. He's competing also. He's been on NFL rosters in the past. Your defensive backfield is loaded with depth, and I do think that's where tough decisions are going to have to be made by Poles and Eberflus. But like Ryan Poles said at his pre-training camp press conference, it's going to be hard to make the team this year. Like the last couple of years when they were rebuilding this roster, not so much. Now, tough decisions are going to have to be made, and you want to have to make those decisions as a GM, because that means you're going in the right direction. And then special teams, no surprises here. Cairo Santos is the kicker, Torrey Taylor's the punter, and Patrick Scales is the long snapper. And that wraps up ESPN's 53-man roster projection. Couple of surprises there. I mentioned corner, Dante Pettis. Larry Borom is more of a minor one, but offensive line is definitely a position to watch. So 3 major takeaways that I had from ESPN's projection. How do you guys feel about this roster projection? How would you grade it? A, B, C, D, or F? The only thing I would, at least challenge is Pettis over Carter. But if they feel like Pettis can provide something at receiver or that Carter can't, then he might make the team. I just think Carter's a better return specialist, so that certainly factors in as well. All right, subscribe to the channel. We'll be back for more videos very, very soon. We appreciate your love and support. Until next time, bear down.